Sionic hello all, it's afternoon, good afternoon, and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 8 of reading Hollywood Babylon by Kenneth Angers. Oh, this is part A, by the way. The Catholic Sodality, S-O-D-A-L-I-T-Y, were so gratified at the response that they decided to put their anti-sex boycott on a national level. Bernard J. Scheil, S-H-E-I-L, Auxiliary Bishop of Chicago, set about organizing a pressure group. The National Legion of Decency was formed in October 1933, 6 months after the release of She Done Him Wrong. The Legion heavies cited the menace Mae West represented as one of the major scenes for the quote-unquote necessity of their organization. So here's, I guess, some of the stills from the film. It says Mae's passes too much for decent legionnaires. That's what all that was referring to. Mae followed the She Done Him Wrong with her most successful picture, I'm No Angel. The clampdown began with her third feature, It Ain't No Sin. When huge posters advertising It Ain't No Sin were up on Broadway, a squad of priests marched up and down in front of the ads with signs bearing the succinct message, quote unquote, it is, in all caps. The decent legionnaires won a minor victory. The title was changed to Belle of the 90s. The Paramount publicist, who had been working on a zany promotion stunt, was stuck with 50 parrots who had been cued to repeat, quote unquote, it ain't no sin, over and over again. Okay. By this time, Father Lord had taken his busy body to Hollywood, where he went about teaching Hayes a thing or two about censorship. Lord dusted off Hayes's old list of quote unquote don'ts, and with the help of a lay Catholic, Martin Quigley, wrote a new set of ridiculous restrictions under the title, in quotes, a code. What? A code to govern the making of motion and talking pictures, end quote. Okay. Here she is in some sort of a get up there. I don't know what that's for. And then it looks like here she is being tended to on the set, or sitting in her chair or whatever. And it says Mae, all woman. Oh, sorry. Probably should have went the other way. This monstrosity included 100 different ways to deball the movies. Hayes was handed these even stiffer moral fibers by Lord and Quigley, and Joseph I. Breen, B-R-E-E-N, was installed to enforce the code with a new weapon, the purity seal. A picture could not be exhibited without it. Mae's war with the super censors started in earnest the summer of 1934, when the new Guardians of America's virtue pounced on her way of handling a gangster. End quotes. Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me? End quote. While It Ain't No Sin was in production, the Hayes office had stationed a quote-unquote watchdog on the set to oversee Mae's lines and movements. To bug this blue nose, Mae thought up a little prank. She invented an imaginary kidnapping threat and kept herself surrounded by a squad of bodybuilder, quote-unquote bodyguards, who followed her right into the luxurious dressing room between takes. While the quote-unquote watchdog fumed, Mae hung out a do not disturb sign. In quotes, it said, except in case of fire. Despite the ever-present prude, Mae was able to give the full West treatment to such lines as, it is better, and this is in quotes, it is better to be looked over than overlooked, end quote, and, in quotes, a man in the house is worth 2 in the street. Hearst got into the act in 1936 when a crack Mae made about his sacrosanct lady, Marion, provoked his ire. I-R-E, I don't know how to say that. Singling out Klondike Annie as a target, the Hearst papers denounced Mae as a quote-unquote monster of lubricity and a quote-unquote, or end quotes, menace to the sacred institution of the American family, end quote. This is a photo. It says, it's by Salvador Dali. And I want to learn about that guy. Mae West Living Room by Dali. In quotes, it is not time. Oh, wait, excuse me. He added, in quotes, is it not time Congress did something about Mae West? End quote. In open parentheses, a tipsy Marianne could be seen hugely enjoying herself at the Klondike Annie premiere. She never could figure out what got droopy drawers in an uproar. Hearst was pissed off by a remark of Mae's about Marianne's acting ability. Since the great man couldn't let the reason for his wrath out of the bag, his hypocritical outrage was channeled to the quote-unquote what? Concupiscence? What? CONCUPISCENCE, end quote, of Mae's screen dialogue to quips, which now seem harmless fun to us, such as, end quotes, between two evils, I always pick the one I never tried before. Okay, end quote. He also feigned umbrage at Mae's rendition of a mock revival meeting hymn, end quotes, it's better to give than to receive, end quote. He gave orders to ban ads for her films in all of his papers, close parentheses. Whatever monster Mae was suggesting up there on the screen, her private life was the soul of discretion. Now, something I was thinking about was, yeah, these quotes and whatnot may not seem like anything to us right now because we have so much out there that is like OMG type stuff. Like this right here is just like, I don't know, you know? But back then, I mean, I don't know, but it just seems the way that they've painted everything for us now about back then. I mean, this coupled with the music, coupled with everything was just the beginning, right? It was a snowball effect to then just start chipping away at decency and I don't know how to put it, like morals and values and stuff. Because now we like have songs that talk about, and I've heard that they supposedly had songs like this back then, but now it's like everywhere you turn, I feel, about like killing people, maiming, like raping people, stealing, all this other kind of stuff, right? And they give the most money to those people, you know, to like push those narratives and stuff. And I feel like that's what they were trying to do back then. I don't know. Anyway. I mean, because like there used to be like, and I don't know back then, but when I was a little kid, there was like the area of the VHS like movie rental place that had like the curtain drawn and it was like for adults only behind a certain area. So like everything out front was completely safe, right? And then now it's just like, if you try to censor something, people are like, well, we have the right to view it if we want. And if our kids view it, then that's fine because then we can talk to them about it. And it's like, what? Why not just let them know that like that stuff's not okay because it's not how you treat people, right? I don't know. So that when they do see stuff like that, they're like, oh, nope, that's not okay, right? I don't know. He gave orders to ban ads for her films in all of his papers. Man. That would never fly right now, I don't think. Whenever Monster Mae was suggesting up there on the screen, her private life was the soul of discretion. When she did discover a dude to her liking, it was generally a boxer, a bodybuilder, or some other substantial hunk of masculinity. These types, rather than members of her own profession, were those who were admitted to the privacy of her shell-pink boudoir. The shades were drawn and drawn again. Mae respected the privacy of others and wanted her own to be respected. She stayed aloof from social whirl of Hollywood parties and was only seen in public occasionally as a prize fight of one of her favorites, with her old friend and manager Jim Timony, Timony. In spite of this, Hearst and the Legion doggedly goaded the Hayes office to harass her during production of Every Day is a Holiday. These quips were scissored, end quotes, I wouldn't let him touch me even with a 10-foot pole, end quote, and end quotes, I wouldn't even lift my veil for that guy, end quote. Hearst conspired with Breen to publish in Quigley's motion picture Harold a list of stars that exhibitors allegedly considered box office poison. So here's a picture of her. And here's another one. And another one. They don't have any words written about these like down here like they normally would, or like up here. So maybe they'll tell us what those are about, but I don't know. This bogus blacklist was designed to oust in one swoop quote-unquote disobedient players and those who victims of gossip or the censor's caprice were considered quote-unquote undesirable. The page-long blacklist featured such quote-unquote difficult subjects as Katharine Hepburn and Fred Astaire, and such, end quote, scarlet women as Marlene Dietrich and Mae West. The truth was that Mae's pictures were still doing fine, but the smear took its toll. When her contract came up for renewal in 1938, after the bedeviled Every Day's a Holiday was in the can, Paramount copped out and let the prigs have the last word. With her material boulderized, okay, the quality of Mae's later films at other studios declined. I wasn't laughing at her career going in the toilet. I was laughing at the fact that they put boulderized in there, right? Anyways, so it says Mary Astor on the witness stand, her most dramatic role. Diary in Blue. The 30s was endowed with another lady luminary with a pronounced penchant for men, an auburn-haired beauty poised, sophisticate with a sensuous, throaty voice. Mary Astor, one of the screen's great character actresses. Since girlhood, Mary's best friend and confidant had been her diary. She told it everything and delighted in setting down a sublime experience while the memory still glowed. She could relive the moment and mark the highest spots of her passage through life. Her Hollywood diary was bound in blue, its pages covered with fine, ultra-feminine, flowing script that graphologists have affirmed is remarkably free from inhibitions. Its contents were as free as her penmanship. The volume for 1935 covered her extramarital trysts with witty playwright George S. Kaufman, with whom she found exquisite rapport. It is odd she didn't keep it well hidden. The blue book had been kept tossed in a bedroom drawer with Mary's undies. One day her physician husband was hunting a pair of misplaced cufflinks when Dr. Franklin Thorpe, Thorpe, idly opened the leather volume. His glance fell on a passage of extravagant admiration, end quotes. Remarkable staying power. I don't see how he does it, end quote. The admiration was not for Dr. Thorpe. As Dr. Thorpe turned the pages, he learned that the man with such fantastic staying power was the urban Kaufman, Kaufman, man about New York. He and Mary had met at the Algonquin during a New York shopping spree she had indulged in during the summer of 1933. This meant the good doctor had been a good cuckold for a good 16 months. My lord. Mary recorded her first encounter with her paramour-to-be, in parentheses, introduced by friend Miriam Hopkins, close parentheses, in glowing terms. His first initial is G, George Kaufman, and I fell like a ton of bricks. I met him Friday. Saturday he called for me at the Ambassador, and we went to the casino for lunch and had a very gay time. After taking in a performance of Kaufman's of The I Sing at the Music Box Theater, Mary and George did the town for the next few nights. Clubs, dives, penthouse parties. The disillusioned doctor's eyes popped as he read his wife's own record of her sexual itinerary. Monday, we ducked out of the boring party. It was very hot, so we got a cab and drove around the park a few times, and the park was, well, the park. And he held my hand and said he'd like to kiss me, but he didn't. Tuesday night, we had a dinner at 21, and on the way to see Run Little Chillin', Chillun, he did kiss me, and I don't think either of us remember much what the show was about. We played Kneesies, Kneesies, during the first two acts. My hand wasn't in my own lap during the third. My lord. It's been years since I've felt up a man in public, but I just got carried away. This is a picture of her. It says, Mary Astor, was any woman ever happier? Afterwards, we had a drink someplace and then went to a little flat in 73rd Street where we could be alone. And it was all very thrilling and beautiful. Once George lays down his glasses, he is quite a different man. His powers of recuperation are amazing. And we made love all night long. It all worked perfectly, and we shared our fourth climax at dawn. Good Lord. I didn't see much of anybody else the rest of the time. We saw every show in town, had grand fun together, and went frequently to 73rd Street, where he effed the living daylights out of me. My God. One morning about 4, we had a sandwich at Reuben's, and it was just getting daylight, so we drove through the park in an open cab, and the birds started singing, and it was cool and dewy. It was a cool and dewy day, and it was pretty heavenly to pet and French right out in the open. Was any woman ever happier? It seems that George is just hard all the time. I don't see how he does it. He's perfect. Dr. Thorpe then discovered that the heady New York affair had continued right near his own backyard. Kaufman and Mosshart passed a few days in Hollywood in February 1934 before setting up their winter writing headquarters in Palm Springs. One morning, when Mary told Thorpe she was going to Warner's for a costume fitting, she raced instead to Kaufman's hotel. Monday, I went to the Beverly Wilshire and was able to see George alone for the first time. He greeted me in pajamas, and we flew into each other's arms. He was rampant in an instant, and in a few moments, it was just like old times. He tore out his pajamas, and I never was undressed by anyone so fast in my life. Later, we went to Vendome, Vendome, for lunch, to a stationer's shop, then back to the hotel. It was raining and lovely. It was wonderful to F the entire sweet afternoon away. I left about 6 o'clock. Oh my Lord. On subsequent weekends in Palm Springs, sat around in the sun all day. Lunch in the pool with Moss and George and the Rogers. Dinner at the dunes, a drink in the moonlight, and then this is in, it's capitalized with the whole word, without. And then it says Moss and Rogers. Desert night. Desert night. Desert, 2S is desert one. So, desert night. Sorry. With George's body plunging into mine, naked under the stars. Good Lord, lady. I think that's that. Okay, so it says she survived the flames. So there she is. And then down here it says for the next one, George Kaufman, staying power, staying power. So this is the infamous George Kaufman. When Thorpe confronted his wife with his discovery, one might suppose the blue-bound book would go blank for a spell, but Mary couldn't wait to record her husband's reaction. He was very badly broken up for several days, used his final weapon with me. In quotes, he said, "I need you," with tears. For the sake of peace and respite from all this emotionalism, I told him I would do nothing at the present. My main reason for saying that is quite honestly, I want to be able to see George for the rest of his stay here without being all upset, looking like hell. I want to have the last few times of completely enjoying him, my Lord. Mary's refusal to break off the affair caused Thorpe to retaliate. Soon he was being seen with so many starlets that his discretions became the talk of the town. When Thorpe sued Mary for divorce in April 1935 and demanded the custody of their daughter, Marilyn, in quote, in parentheses, it says adored by Mary, close parentheses, hundreds of eyebrows were raised. Mary did not consent to the divorce. Thorpe had appropriated her tell-all diary before she moved out of the Beverly Hills mansion. It was devastating evidence. She could not face the prospect of being deprived of her daughter. She filed a countersuit on July 15th to retain custody of the child. Thorpe's lawyers revealed the existence of the diary the first day of the trial. The judge, quote-unquote, Goody Knight, took a peek at the book and excluded it as evidence. But Thorpe's lawyers leaked excerpts to the press which left little doubt as to its tenor. Among them was the, in quotes, desert night. And it's this passage which entered into folklore. They're done to go hang when you get a chance to get to him again. Love you, mean it.